The hiss of the espresso machine was a constant pressure. It was the soundtrack to Clara Evans's life, a relentless reminder of the steam building up inside her own chest. Every coffee she made was a few more dollars toward rent, a few more cents toward the mountain of bills, a mountain that only grew taller. Today, the hiss felt like a taunt. Outside the cafe window, the city of Seattle wept. The rain was not a gentle mist. It was a cold, determined downpour. The world blurred into a palette of grays. The weather mirrored her finances. And it mirrored her heart. Her laptop was on the counter. The screen showed an email that had shattered her fragile peace an hour ago. It was brutally concise. Clara, we've decided to move in a different creative direction. We will be terminating our contract. Effective immediately. 14 words. That's all it took. Her main client was gone. The client that paid her rent. That paid for groceries. That paid for her 4-year-old son Leo's dinosaur chicken nuggets. All gone. One more latte for Chloe, she called out. Her voice was cheerful. A practiced melody. It felt alien to her. She slid the cup across the counter, forcing a smile. At 28, Clara felt ancient. Her dreams of being a top designer were gone. Now, she just scrambled for freelance gigs, all while juggling the beautiful, chaotic reality of being a single mother. Leo's father had been a charming musician. He loved the idea of a family, until it required sacrifice. He faded out of their lives, like a poorly mixed track, leaving Clara with a broken heart and a fierce love for their son. Hey, Earth to Clara. The voice was her coworker, Maria. Shifts over. You okay? Clara forced another smile. Just tired. Long night with Leo. He had a nightmare about a grumpy volcano. It was easier than explaining the truth. The panic in her gut. She accepted a small bag of day-old pastries from her boss. It would be their dinner. She pulled on her worn raincoat. The zipper was broken. She braced for the deluge. The walk to the daycare was short, but the rain soaked through her worn-out boots. It was a miserable, chilling feeling. And then she saw him. Leo. His face lit up the gloomy afternoon. Mommy, he yelled. He ran straight into her arms. For a moment, holding his small, warm body, the panic subsided. He was her why. He was everything. The feeling evaporated at their car. A 15-year-old sedan. She called it the hopeful. She turned the key. It sputtered once. Twice. Then, silence. The battery was dead. Again. Come on, Hope, Clara whispered. She rested her forehead on the steering wheel. Please. Not today. Is Hope sleepy, Mommy? Leo asked from his car seat. His voice was small. Tears pricked at Clara's eyes. She was so tired of the struggle. She was about to call for a jump, knowing it would eat into her last $50. Just then, a sharp rap on the window made her jump. A man stood in the pouring rain. He held a large black umbrella. He looked concerned. His eyes were a kind, gentle green. Having car trouble? He asked. His voice was calm. Just a dead battery, Clara said. Her voice cracked. I was about to call for help. Let me give you a jump, he offered. I've got cables. No sense in you paying for a truck. Clara hesitated. She had learned to be wary, to be self-reliant, but she looked at Leo's worried face in the rearview mirror. Her pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. Okay, she whispered. She carefully transferred Leo to his arms. Thank you. He parked his sleek, silent electric SUV. He went to work with an efficient, practiced ease. As he connected the cables, he spoke to Leo. That's a cool dinosaur on your backpack. Is that a T-Rex? Leo, who was usually shy, nodded enthusiastically. It's a Giganotosaurus. It's even bigger than a T-Rex. The man played along perfectly. No way. You're a dinosaur expert, I see. I'm just Alex, by the way. I'm Leo, her son replied proudly. Within minutes, the engine of the hopeful roared to life. The relief was overwhelming. Clara got out of the car to thank him. The rain instantly plastered her hair to her face. "I can't thank you enough, Alex," she said sincerely. "You really saved us." "It was no trouble," he said, his smile warm. He looked at her soaked jeans, at her shivering frame. "You and the dinosaur expert look half frozen. You live far from here?" "About 15 minutes," she admitted. "Then let me make you an offer," he said. His tone was careful. "Let your car run and charge up for a bit. I'll give you and Leo a lift home, so you can get into some dry clothes. Then I'll come back and drive your car to your place." It was an absurdly kind offer. Every cynical nerve screamed at her to refuse. But the thought of a warm, dry car was too tempting. She looked at his genuine face and made a split-second decision. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," he said. "Hop in." Climbing into Alex's SUV felt like entering another dimension. The car was clean. It was warm. It smelled faintly of leather and fresh rain. It was a world away from her own rattling sedan. Clara carefully buckled Leo into the back. Her movements felt clumsy. Alex waited patiently. He adjusted the rear climate control. "Is that warm enough for you back there, Leo?" Alex asked. "It's super warm," Leo declared. His feet kicked happily. "My feet aren't even cold anymore." Clara's heart gave a small, painful pinch. She hadn't even realized his feet were cold. They pulled away from the curb. A comfortable silence settled between them. The only sound was the soft swish of the windshield wipers. Clara stole glances at the man beside her. He drove with an easy, confident grace. "So," he said, breaking the spell. "A Giganotosaurus, huh? How does a 4-year-old even learn a word like that?" Clara felt a real smile touch her lips. "From a documentary. Leo is obsessed. Our apartment is basically a prehistoric theme park. I trip over a velociraptor at least twice a day." "Sounds like a dangerous place," Alex chuckled. "You must be a very brave explorer." "Something like that," she murmured. Her smile faded. She thought of their tiny, cluttered apartment. She gave him the directions. "It's the brick building on the left." "The one with the good muffins?" he asked, surprising her. "I stop there sometimes." "That's the one," she confirmed. A wave of self-consciousness washed over her. His office was probably nearby. He probably lived in a sleek, modern condo, the kind she only saw in magazines. "So, you're a graphic designer?" he asked. "A bit of everything," she said. She tried to make her career sound stable. "Branding, web assets, whatever pays the bills." The words came out with a bitter edge. She softened her tone. "Mostly, I love creating logos. It feels like magic when you get it right." "It is magic," Alex agreed. His tone was serious. His green eyes held a surprising understanding. "It's about telling a story without words. That's an incredible skill." His validation was unexpected. So direct. Clara didn't know how to respond. Most people's eyes glazed over when she talked about her work. "What about you, Alex?" she asked. She wanted to shift the focus away from herself. "What do you do?" He smiled. A slow, easy smile. "I build things," he said simply. "A contractor?" Clara asked. "Something like that," he replied. "I'm in architecture and development. I help design buildings and communities." Clara was impressed. "Wow, that's big. Important work." "It can be," he said. His expression turned thoughtful. "It's a huge responsibility. You can lift a whole neighborhood up, or you can get it wrong and cause real harm." There was a weight to his words, a hint of a story. Before she could ask more, Leo piped up. "Mommy, I'm sleepy." "Okay, baby. Close your eyes." "We're almost home," she said softly. They pulled up in front of her building. It was a 3-story walk-up. The paint was peeling. One of the porch lights flickered. Alex parked without a word. His lack of reaction was a kindness. He turned in his seat as Clara unbuckled a now dozing Leo. "Don't worry," he said quietly. "Let me." Before she could protest, he was out of the car. He opened the rear door. He unbuckled Leo with a practiced gentleness that stunned her. He scooped her son's sleeping form into his arms. Leo just snuggled his head into the crook of Alex's neck. He gave a contented sigh. The sight sent a powerful, complicated jolt through Clara. It had been so long since she had seen a man handle her son with such tenderness. For a moment, they looked like a family. The thought was dangerous, foolish. She pushed it away. He carried Leo to her second-floor apartment door. He sheltered him from the rain. Clara fumbled with her keys. Her fingers were suddenly clumsy. She unlocked the door. "His room is just down the hall," she whispered. Alex moved through her small apartment with a quiet grace. He gently laid Leo on his dinosaur-covered bed. He expertly removed his damp shoes without waking him. He pulled the comforter up to Leo's chin. When he came out of the bedroom, Clara was standing awkwardly in the living room. Her apartment suddenly seemed impossibly small and cluttered. She was aware of the stack of unpaid bills on her tiny dining table. "Thank you," she said. The words felt inadequate. "For everything." "It was my pleasure, Clara," he said. His voice was a low murmur. His eyes showed genuine concern. "Are you sure you're okay? You seem like you've had the worst day in the world." His sincerity broke through her defenses. "Something like that," she admitted. Her gaze dropped to the floor. "I lost my biggest client today. The timing with the car was just cosmic irony." "I'm so sorry," he said. The sympathy in his voice was real. It made her throat tighten. Their loss. Any company that lets a designer with your talent go is making a big mistake. "You've never even seen my work," she said with a weak laugh. "I've seen the way you talk about it," he countered. "Passion like that always translates into the work. Something better will come along." He stood by the door. Clara felt an invisible line between them. He was the rescuer. She was the rescued. He was about to leave, to return to his world of reliable cars and impressive buildings. She would be left in hers, with a mountain of problems. "I'll go get your car," he said, pulling her from her thoughts. "I'll leave the keys under your front mat, and I'll text you when it's there." "Alex, wait," she said. An impulse took over. "Let me at least give you some money, or buy you a coffee. Something." He shook his head. A firm but kind refusal. "No need. Truly. Just pay it forward sometime. And get that battery replaced tomorrow." He gave her one last, warm smile. It made her stomach do a little flip. "It was really nice to meet you, Clara." And then he was gone. The door clicked shut. The apartment was silent again, save for the sound of the rain. Clara stood frozen. Her heart pounded a strange, unfamiliar rhythm. She felt gratitude, embarrassment, and a spark of something else. Something dangerous. Something that felt like hope. 30 minutes later, her phone buzzed. "Alex, the hopeful is safe. Keys are under the mat. Get some rest, Clara." She stared at the message, then typed a reply. "Clara, I don't know how to thank you. You're an angel." His reply was almost instant. "Alex, angels don't drive SUVs. Just a guy with jumper cables. Good night." Clara leaned her head against the window, watching the rain. A guy with jumper cables. Maybe. But she had a feeling it was much more complicated than that. The next morning, the rain had softened to a drizzle. Clara woke with a jolt. She felt a sliver of peace. Then, the cold reality of her situation flooded back. Rent was due. Her client was gone. Her bank account was a joke. And yet, something was different. The panic of yesterday was gone, replaced by the memory of Alex. It was like a single, warm candle in a dark room. Not enough to light the way, but enough to show she wasn't alone. She was pouring Leo a bowl of cereal when her phone rang. It was her best friend, Maya. "Okay, spill," Maya said, skipping any preamble. "You sent me a text last night. It said, an angel in an SUV saved me. I need details." Clara laughed. A real, genuine laugh. She recounted the entire story. The lost client, the dead car, the appearance of Alex, his kindness. his generosity. Wait, Maya interrupted. So this handsome, mysterious stranger named Alex, who drives an expensive car, just happens to help you. Out of the goodness of his heart? When you say it like that, it sounds insane, Clara admitted. It is insane. Insanely romantic, Maya said. But Clara, honey, be careful. The last thing you need is some rich guy playing hero for a weekend. Maya's words were a splash of cold water. They echoed the cynical voice in Clara's own head, a voice scarred by her past. I know, Clara whispered. He was just a kind person. That's all. But a part of her didn't believe it. Reality returned when she tried to start the hopeful. It was dead. Again. After getting a jump from a neighbor, she drove to an auto shop. Her stomach was in knots. The mechanic delivered the verdict. Batteries shot. Alternators weak. To replace both, it's $400. $400. He might as well have said $4 million. It was Leo's birthday money. A tear of helpless frustration welled in her eye. She blinked it back furiously. She would not cry in an auto shop. Just the battery, please, she said. Her voice was tight. The cheapest one you have. The next few days were a blur of anxiety. A frantic effort. Clara spent every moment at her laptop. She sent out dozens of applications for freelance work. The replies were disheartening. Or worse, complete silence. The candle of hope that Alex had lit began to flicker. Miles away, in a glass-walled office, Alexander Sterling was also staring at a screen. He was looking at Clara's portfolio. He had found her professional website easily. He was supposed to be reviewing schematics for a 50-story tower. But his mind was elsewhere. He clicked through her work. A low whistle of appreciation escaped his lips. She was good, better than good. Her designs were clean, intelligent, full of emotion. She had a gift. Something more interesting than balconies, Alex? Alexander looked up. His second-in-command, Evelyn Reed, stood in his doorway. She was a chic, fiercely intelligent woman. He minimized the portfolio, feeling like a teenager caught daydreaming. Just reviewing some contract work, Evelyn. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. You don't review freelance portfolios. What's going on? You've been distracted since Tuesday. He sighed. He gave her the edited version. He explained he'd met a designer whose work had impressed him. Well, if she's that good, have the agency reach out, Evelyn said pragmatically. We have that Evergreen Terrace presentation coming up. The team is looking for a designer. Alexander's heart gave a sudden thud. It was the perfect opportunity. A high-profile project. Excellent pay. It would be a lifeline for her. But was it right? Would it seem like a handout? He remembered her fierce pride. Pity was the last thing she would want. Just have the agency send her the brief, he said finally. His voice was carefully neutral. But send it blind. I don't want my name attached. Let her portfolio speak for itself. Evelyn gave him a long look. All right, Alex, she said slowly. Whatever you say. On Friday afternoon, an email popped up on Clara's phone. The subject line read, Urgent Design Project, Sterling Designs Evergreen Terrace. Her breath caught. Sterling Designs was the biggest firm in the city. She clicked it open. Her heart hammered against her ribs. It was from the agency she had contacted. Clara. An urgent project has come up. For a major client, Sterling Designs. They saw your portfolio. And they specifically requested you. The compensation is significant. Please let us know if you are available for a kickoff call on Monday. Clara read the email 3 times. Disbelief washed over her. They specifically requested you. The words sang to her. After all the rejections, this felt like a miracle. A validation of her talent. She looked at the proposed fee. It was enough to cover her rent for 3 months. It was enough to finally breathe. She didn't hesitate. Her fingers flew across the screen. Yes, absolutely. I am available. And thrilled for the opportunity. She hit send. She let out a whoop of pure joy. She grabbed Leo and spun him around the living room. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, the future didn't look like a dark abyss. It looked bright. On Monday morning, she was ready. She sat at her laptop. A fresh coffee steamed beside her. She wore her most professional blouse. She felt competent, confident. She was no longer a charity case. She was Clara Evans, a talented designer, requested by the best firm in the city. With a steady hand, she clicked the link to join the video call. A bright, professional smile already on her face. The screen populated with faces. The project manager began his introductions. And then, a final window blinked on, and the blood drained from Clara's face. The project manager was saying, and of course, the visionary behind the project, our CEO, Mr. Alexander Sterling. It was Alex. The world tilted. The image on her screen was not a glitch. The man in the video window was Alex. The man being introduced as the CEO. The titan of Seattle architecture. He wasn't the kind stranger in a rain jacket. This version of him was polished, powerful. He sat in a spacious, modern office. The city skyline visible behind him. The gentleman who knelt on wet pavement was gone, replaced by this formidable stranger. He was Alexander Sterling, and he was her new boss. A wave of hot, searing humiliation washed over Clara. Her mind was a chaotic storm of accusations. He arranged this. The thought was a venomous dart. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't her talent. It was pity, a charitable act from a billionaire, a man who stumbled upon a damsel in distress and decided to solve her quaint little problems. He had seen her shabby apartment, her broken-down car. This job wasn't an opportunity. It was a handout, wrapped in pretty paper to spare her feelings. When Alexander's eyes finally landed on hers, his professional smile faltered. His eyes widened. A flicker of panic crossed his features. Then it was gone, replaced by a mask of composure. But she had seen it. The project manager was still talking. The sound was a meaningless buzz. Her entire body felt cold, then hot. She forced her expression to remain neutral. A blank slate. She would not fall apart. She would not let him see how profoundly he had humiliated her. And we're so thrilled to have Clara Evans joining us, the project manager said. Clara, welcome aboard. Every head turned to her square on the screen. Alexander's gaze was the most intense. He was watching her, waiting. Clara unmuted her microphone. Her hand trembled. Thank you, she said. Her voice was miraculously steady. The vision for this space is inspiring. I'm looking forward to helping bring that vision to life. She delivered the words while looking directly at the project manager. She refused to acknowledge Alexander. The rest of the meeting passed in a torturous blur. Alexander spoke eloquently about integrity, about community. Every word felt like a personal insult. She contributed when required. Her professionalism was a shield against the fury and hurt inside her. The second the meeting ended, Clara clicked the leave button. The professional facade crumbled. She pushed back from her desk. Her breath came in ragged gasps. The joy of the weekend had been a lie. She had been so proud, so foolishly proud. The reality was so much uglier. She paced her apartment, a caged tiger of rage and shame. How dare he? How dare he invade her life with his quiet kindness, only to pull the rug out from under her with his casual, immense power? She sat down at her laptop. Her resolve hardened. She would not be his charity. She would not be a feel-good story he told at a party. She still had her pride. It was battered, but it was hers. With trembling fingers, she typed an email. To Alexander Sterling. Subject, professional matter. Mr. Sterling, it has come to my attention that you are the principal behind this project, and the man who assisted me with my car. I cannot accept work offered under false pretenses. I am not a charity case. My work is secured on the basis of merit, not pity. Please find attached an invoice for the roadside assistance. I will be withdrawing from the project immediately. Sincerely, Clara Evans. She created an invoice for $150. She attached it, and she hit send. A wave of nausea washed over her. She had just walked away from a job that would have solved all her problems. The rent, the car, Leo's birthday. But as she stared at the screen, she felt the clean, cold relief of reclaiming her dignity. It was a costly feeling, but it was priceless. In his office on the 45th floor, Alexander Sterling stared at the email. The words felt like shards of glass. "I am not a charity case." He read it again, each word a testament to how badly he had hurt her. "No, no, no," he muttered. He ran a hand through his hair. He hadn't arranged the job. Not really. He had been so impressed by her portfolio, so captivated by her spirit. He had wanted to work with her. He had foolishly imagined they would laugh about the coincidence. He never imagined this. A betrayal. He immediately picked up his phone. He dialed her number. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. She had blocked him. He quickly typed a text message. "Clara, please. It's not what you think. I can explain. The job was offered because of your talent. Please give me 5 minutes." He sent it. The message remained undelivered. The read receipt never appeared. He leaned back in his chair. He had been undone by a fiercely proud graphic designer, a woman with tired eyes and a spine of steel. He had tried to be careful, but in his attempt to get closer, he had built a wall between them. An email wouldn't fix this. A text message was useless. There was only one thing to do. He had to see her. He had to stand in front of her, without the protection of a screen, and make her understand. He buzzed his assistant. "Evelyn, clear my schedule for the rest of the afternoon. Something personal has come up." He grabbed his keys and his jacket. His mind was racing. He didn't have a plan. He just knew he couldn't let the story end like this. The moment the email was sent, a terrifying silence filled Clara's apartment. The angry adrenaline was gone. It left behind a cold, hollow dread. She sank onto her sofa. Her body trembled. She had chosen pride over survival. She had thrown away her lifeline. The image of Leo's hopeful face flashed in her mind. The memory was painful. A physical blow. She wrapped her arms around her stomach. What had she done? Her phone buzzed. It was Maya. "I just got an alert that you canceled a payment request," Maya said. Her voice was alarmed. "Did you just invoice the CEO of Sterling Designs?" Tears began to stream down Clara's face. "He was Alex, Maya," she whispered. "The guy from the other night. He's Alexander Sterling." There was a stunned silence. "Oh, honey," Maya finally said. Her voice was soft. "Oh, no. He played me," Clara sobbed. The story tumbled out. A torrent of hurt and humiliation. He let me pour my heart out to him. And it was just him pulling strings. Treating me like some pathetic project. "Okay, deep breaths," Maya said. Her lawyerly calm kicked in. "So you quit, and you sent him a bill?" "Yes." "Clara," Maya said. Her voice was tight with disbelief. "That job was a winning lottery ticket. Are you insane? You need that money." "No," Clara said. A spark of her fire returned. "No, I won't. I won't let him think he can buy me. I'd rather be evicted than be someone's charity case. He already has that power." Maya argued. "This isn't some romantic movie. This is your life. This is Leo's life." Clara couldn't listen anymore. "I have to go," she said abruptly. She hung up. She knew Maya was right, on a practical level. But Maya didn't understand what it felt like to have your last shred of self-worth stripped away. A sharp, firm knock on her apartment door ripped through the quiet. Her heart leaped into her throat. The landlord. Coming for the rent. She squeezed her eyes shut. The knock came again. More insistent. "Clara? It's Alexander Sterling. Please. I know you're in there. We need to talk." "Alexander. Here." A jolt of pure panic shot through her. She crept to the door. She peered through the peephole. It was him. He stood in the dimly lit hallway. He looked anxious and desperate. He looked just like the man who had stood in the rain. He looked like Alex. "Clara, I am not leaving until you give me 5 minutes," he said. His voice was strained, pleading. "If you still want me to go after that, I will walk away. And I will never bother you again. I promise. Please." His desperation was a tangible thing. It chipped away at her anger. With a shaky breath, she opened the door. Just a few inches. She stood there, blocking the entrance. Her arms crossed tightly. "You have 1 minute," she said. Her voice was as cold as ice. He looked relieved and terrified. "Thank you," he said. His words rushed out. "First, I am so sorry for not telling you who I was. When people know who I am, the conversation changes. With you, it was real. I haven't had a real conversation with a stranger in years. I didn't want it to end. I was wrong." She stared at him, unmoved. "And the job?" she asked. Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "Was that real too? Or was that just your way of easing your conscience?" The accusation hit him hard. "No," he said. He shook his head vehemently. "Clara, that's the most important thing. You have to believe me. I did not arrange that job as a handout." "I don't believe you," she said. "It's the truth," he insisted. "After I left you, I looked up your website. I saw your portfolio. Clara, your work is breathtaking. You're a phenomenal talent. I told my firm to consider you, but I insisted my name not be attached. I wanted them to see your work on its own merit, and they did. The agency. They chose you. When I saw your face on that call, I knew instantly how it would look." His explanation was so detailed, so earnest. A tiny seed of doubt began to sprout in her anger, but she couldn't let go of the hurt. "So you just sat there?" she challenged him. "You let me pour my heart out to you in your car, and all you could think was how you could fix it?" "No," he said. He stepped closer. His eyes pleaded with hers. "All I could think was that you were the strongest person I had ever met, that you were raising a wonderful kid, and fighting for your dreams against impossible odds. It made me feel humbled." He paused. He took a deep breath. He looked away. A shadow crossed his face. "A few years ago, my firm was responsible for a project. We got it wrong. We were so focused on the design, on the budget. We lost sight of the people. The project led to the demolition of an old apartment building. A real community. We displaced them all. I got letters for months from people whose lives were turned upside down. I promised myself I would never again lose sight of the human cost of my work." He looked back at her. His green eyes were raw with vulnerability. "When I met you, it wasn't an opportunity for charity. It was a reminder of what's real, of what's at stake. You grounded me, Clara. You made me remember what actually matters." The story hung in the air between them. It was unexpected, personal. It disarmed her completely. Her fortress of anger began to crumble, brick by painful brick. Before she could respond, a small voice came from down the hall. "Mommy?" Leo stood in the entrance of the living room. He was rubbing his eyes. His eyes landed on the tall figure in the doorway. "It's Alex," he said. A sleepy, happy smile spread across his face. "The man with the warm car." Alexander's gaze softened as he looked at Leo. The last of Clara's anger dissolved into a turbulent sea of confusion. She looked at Alexander, really looked at him. She saw not the powerful CEO, but a man looking at her son with genuine warmth. A man who was flawed, regretful, and surprisingly human. She took a step back. She pulled the door open wider. She was still hurt. The trust was still broken. But he deserved more than a dismissal. "My minute is up," she said. Her voice was no longer icy, just tired. "You should go, Alexander." He looked crushed, but he nodded. He respected her words. "Okay," he said quietly. He started to turn away. "But," she added. The word stopped him. He turned back, a flicker of hope in his eyes. What you said. I'll think about it. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't acceptance. But it wasn't a door slammed in his face. It was a start. He gave her a small, grateful nod. Thank you, Clara, he said. And with one last look, he turned and walked away. His footsteps echoed long after he was gone. Clara closed the door. She leaned her forehead against the cool wood. Her heart was a tangled mess. She had no idea what she was going to do. But for the first time, she wasn't entirely sure she had been right. Clara closed the door. She leaned against it. The quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound. Alexander was gone. The hallway was empty. But his words remained. You grounded me. You made me remember what actually matters. Her anger was gone. It was replaced by a vast, churning ocean of uncertainty. For 4 years, her worldview had been simple and painful. Trust no one. Rely on no one. Her relationship with Leo's father had been a masterclass in disillusionment. He was full of grand promises. But when life required the unglamorous work of showing up, he had vanished. She had learned to see extravagant gestures as a warning sign. The beautiful bloom of a toxic plant. Alexander's gesture, the job offer, had been the grandest of all. And she had reacted accordingly. But his confession hadn't felt grand. It had felt raw, vulnerable, and deeply human. She called Maya back. He came here, Maya, Clara said quietly. He what? Maya's voice was full of concern. Are you okay? I'm fine, Clara said. She looked down at the rainy street below. He explained everything. And I think I might have been wrong. She recounted the entire conversation. She included Alexander's story about the displaced community. When she finished, there was a long pause. Wow, Maya said softly. Okay. That is not what I expected. Me neither, Clara admitted. A man who can admit a mistake of that magnitude, that's rare, Clara, Maya said. He made himself vulnerable to you. That's the opposite of a power play. So what do I do? Clara asked. Her voice was small. I sent him an invoice, Maya. An invoice. Well, Maya said, a hint of humor in her voice. My friend advice is this. You need to decide what you believe. Do you believe he is the man who lied to you? Or the man who confessed his biggest failure on your doorstep? The question hung in the air after they hung up. Clara knew she needed more than a feeling. She needed proof. She sat at her laptop. Her fingers hesitated. It felt like spying. But she had to know. She typed, Sterling Designs Kenton Project Controversy. The search results were immediate. News articles from 3 years ago detailed the public outcry. There were quotes from angry residents, photos of protesters. And then she found it. A public statement from Alexander Sterling himself. It wasn't a corporate non-apology. It was a stark, personal admission of failure. He took full responsibility. He outlined a new ethics charter. He had even established a fund to support the displaced families. He wrote, a building without a soul is a monument to failure. I have learned this lesson at a cost to others that I will carry with me forever. He had been telling the truth. Every word. Clara stared at the screen. Tears blurred the text. These weren't tears of humiliation. They were quiet, cleansing tears of understanding. She had been so wrapped up in her own pain, she couldn't see his. She knew what she had to do. It was terrifying. It required a leap of faith, but for the first time in years, she felt the risk might be worth the fall. She opened her email. She found the invoice she had sent him. She created a new version. She changed the line item to for an honest conversation. And next to the total, she typed in bold letters, paid in full. She attached it to a new email. To Alexander Sterling. Subject, Professional Matter. Alexander. Please see the attached revised invoice. I believe this account is now settled. I researched the Kenton project. I am sorry for what you went through. And I am even sorrier for how I reacted. My past has made me skeptical of kindness. It's something I'm working on. If the offer for a conversation still stands, I'd like that. Clara, she sent it. Her heart pounded a frantic rhythm. She didn't have to wait long. Her phone buzzed less than a minute later. It was a text from him. "Alex, your invoice is my favorite I've ever received. The offer for a conversation will always stand. Green Lake Park? Tomorrow at noon? We can feed the ducks. I'll bring the bread." The next day, the sun made a rare appearance. Clara saw him waiting on a bench near the water. He was dressed casually, in jeans and a soft gray sweater. He looked less like a CEO, and more like the man she'd first met. He looked up as she approached. A slow, genuine smile spread across his face. "Hi," she said. Her hands were shoved nervously in her pockets. "Hi," he replied. His eyes were full of a warmth that made her feel seen. "I brought oatmeal bread. It's better for the ducks." They walked along the water's edge in a comfortable silence. Then she spoke. "I need you to understand why I reacted the way I did." She told him everything. About Leo's father, the grand gestures, the broken trust. "When I saw you on that call, it felt like the same story, just with a bigger budget. It was my biggest fear come to life." He listened without interrupting. His gaze never left her face. When she was finished, he stopped walking. He turned to her. "Thank you for telling me that," he said. His voice was thick with emotion. "You had every right to feel that way. And I am so sorry that my actions made you relive that pain." He took a small step closer. "So I want to be perfectly clear. My interest in you was never professional. Yes, I admire your talent, but I was captivated by you. I want to take you on a proper date, Clara. One that doesn't involve a dead battery. I want to get to know you. And Leo. With no secrets between us." Her heart swelled. "I'd like that, Alexander." "Alex," he corrected her gently. "I'm just Alex to you. Always." He paused. "And about the job, the offer stands. We need you. But I understand if the dynamic feels wrong." This was her chance. "I'll do it," she said. Her voice was firm, confident, on one condition. "I'll come on as a freelance consultant for the initial phase. No special treatment. I'll prove my worth. After that, we can talk about a permanent position." He beamed. His smile was so bright it outshone the weak sun. "That's a deal," he said. "But I should warn you. We're probably going to offer you a permanent position after 1 week." 3 months later, the presentation room at Sterling Designs was sleek, intimidating, but Clara felt a thrill. Not of fear, but of excitement. She stood before the board. Alexander was among them. She walked them through her final design concept. Her voice was clear, confident. Her ideas were sharp, insightful. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. Alexander didn't clap. He just watched her. His eyes filled with a love and pride so profound it was a tangible thing. 6 months later. "He's flying. Alex, look." Leo shrieked with laughter. Alexander pushed his swing higher and higher in the park. His laughter mixed with Leo's. A sound of pure joy. Clara watched them from a bench, a sketchbook open on her lap. She wasn't sketching buildings. She was sketching them. This man. And her son. A family taking shape. Her life was no longer about survival. It was about living. She had her own apartment now. A slightly bigger one. Paid for with her salary. Her new, permanent salary. As head of brand design at Sterling Designs. 1 year later, the lights of Seattle glittered below them. They were in the kitchen of Alexander's beautiful apartment. But tonight, it felt like hers, too. They were making pasta from scratch. Flour dusted both their clothes. Leo was fast asleep in the guest room, a room now filled with dinosaurs. It was a quiet Tuesday night. Beautifully, perfectly, ordinary. Alexander came up behind her. He wrapped his arms around her waist as she stirred the sauce. He rested his chin on her shoulder. "I never thought," he said quietly. His lips were close to her ear. "That helping someone with a dead battery would completely change my life." Clara leaned back into his embrace. A slow, happy smile spread across her face. She looked at their reflection in the dark window. Two people, intertwined, happy. And I never thought, she whispered back, that the absolute worst day of my life would turn out to be the very best one. He turned her in his arms, and he kissed her. A deep, loving kiss. A kiss that held the promise of countless ordinary, beautiful days to come. The storm had passed long ago, and in its place, they had found the courage to build something new, something strong and true, on a foundation of honesty, respect,